Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderfall Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video we're going to talk Start Collecting Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and today we're going to take a look at Vanguard for the Daughters of Khaine. Now, in this video we're going to take a look at building a Daughters of Khaine army using the Vanguard box set for the current season's General's Handbook. Taking into account, we want to play with as many wizards as possible that will be Andorian locuses on the tabletop. So with that said, we're going to look through all the contents of this box set. We'll then take a look at a couple of units we recommend to expand upon after this initial purchase, and then finally finish off the video with a little sample army list of 1,000 points for you to use, hopefully as some inspiration for starting your own force of the Daughters of Khaine in Andor. Now, with that said, we have a Melusai Iron Scale. Now, the Melusai Iron Scale is interesting in that it will unlock, if it is your general, both of the Melusai units, Blood Sisters and Blood Stalkers, as battle line for you. Other than that, you have an 8-inch move with 6 wounds and a 5+ save, and a decent close combat and range profile on it. Nothing too great to write home about, but enough there for a character. You've got quite a few special rules. First of all, the Blood of the Oracle. Each time this unit is affected by a spell or the abilities of an endless spell on a 5+, you just completely ignore them. Great for the current season. Gory Offering as well. If an enemy model is slain by wounds caused by this model in the combat phase, you can add one to the attack characteristic of friendly Melusai units holding within 12-inch. Turn to Crystal allows you to do a mortal wound, and Wrath of the Scaffold, where you can use this command ability in your charge phase, and if this unit is part of your army and on the battlefield. This command can only be issued by this unit, and the unit receives it must be a Melusai unit. That unit can attempt to charge even if it ran in the same turn. So really does buff up your Melusai units. Now we then get 10 Witch Elves or Sisters of Slaughter, both of which are battle line options at all times within a Daughters of Khaine force. Witch Elves are relatively cheap, 110 points for 10 of them, and they can have the option of either going with the paired Scansers, which will give them 3 attacks, or going with the 1 Scanser and taking their shielded and the bladed bucklers as well. They'll get 2 attacks, but they will get a 5+ save rather than the base 6+ the unit has. They will have the ability to reroll failed battle shock tests thanks to the standard bearer. The Musician will give them run and charge in the same turn. And you've also got the Frenzied Fervor, while you can add one to the wound rolls of melee attacks made by this unit once held within 12-inch of any other friendly Daughters of Khaine totem units. Now the Bladed Bucklers as well, if you ever make your saving rolls of 6 with these, they can actually inflict back some mortal wounds, which is really nice. Sisters of Slaughter, on the other hand, have a 2-inch range Croup Lash, which is one of their main weapons, and they can choose to go with their Sacrificial Knives or the Bladed Bucklers to accompany this. Now they have the same standard bearer and musician as the Witch Elves we've already talked about, but the Dance of Death is their special rule, and this will allow them to engage in combat from up to 6-inch away rather than just 3-inch. Moving on, we then have the Blood Sister and Blood Stalker units. The Blood Sisters are our combat dedicated unit. They have 2 wounds each on a 5+ save, and their Heart Shard Glaive has 3 attacks, hitting and wounding on 3s with rend 1, damage 1. Turn to Crystal though means after this unit's fought for the first time in each phase and all of its attacks have been resolved, you can pick an enemy unit within an inch of this unit and you roll a dice for each model in the unit, and on a 2+, the enemy unit will suffer a mortal wound. On the other hand, we have the Blood Stalkers, who are going to have their Heartseeker Bows, 2 attacks on 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 1 at range, and anytime they roll a 6 to hit for a Heartseeker Bow at range, the enemy will suffer a mortal wound and the attack sequence will end. Lastly, we have the Doomfire Warlocks. These are actually a wizard unit, though they can't take any of the Daughters of Khaine spells, and they're not a hero, so they can't take any of the Andorian Locust spells either, but they do get access to the Universal spells and something like Levitate, with their ability to have actually a damaging spell, and also the ranged Doomfire crossbows on them, and they're pretty fast as well. Can be a really nice little combo for them, giving them some extra maneuverability, and a really maneuverable unit on the tabletop. Now they do get to add 1 to their casting and binding roll so long as they've got 5 or more models, and they also have their own spell Doomfire, which potentially can do, if you've got a maximum unit size of 10, up to 6 mortal wounds. Today's video is brought to you by Gap Games, a fantastic retailer in Australia for a variety of different miniature war games. If you'd like to help support the channel, we have an affiliate link where by clicking on and purchasing, you'll help support the channel, but you'll also help support Gap Games, which is a fantastic servant to the community. Now looking at where to go next for the Daughters of Khaine, and the first thing we're going to look at is of course the Bloodrack Medusa. This is the only actual standard Andorian locust you have in the force. So the Bloodwrack Medusa is going to have 6 wounds at 5 up save. You've got your Bloodwrack Stare, which is a nice area effect of damage dealing and can really do some mortal wounds to hordes. What it does is you don't use the attack sequence. Instead, you roll a number of dice equal to the number of models that are within range of the attack, which is at 12 inch. And for each 5+, the unit will simply suffer a mortal wound. Melusa Kin, at the start of your combat phase, you can pick a friendly Melusa unit, hold within 12 inch of this unit, and add 1 to the number of the current battle round when determining their effects from the Blood Rights table, which is your Daughter of the Khaine Allegiance ability. And Enfeebling Foe is their base spell, so you can subtract 1 from wound rolls for melee weapons by the enemy unit you choose to pick, which is really cool. 1 cast and 1 unbind. Other than that, a decent amount of melee weapon attacks as well. Now, the other version we can take of this is the Bloodwrack Shrine. This won't be Andorian Locust as it has 13 wounds, but it is a more survivable version and it still can make use of the primal magic dice. You have the Bloodwrack Stare, which actually can be much more effective when you've got such a large base on the model, and the Aura of Agony allows you to, at the start of your hero phase, you can roll a dice for each enemy unit within 7 inch. If the roll is equal to or greater than the Aura of Agony value on this model, which starts at a 2+, the enemy unit will suffer D3 mortal wounds. It also does mortal wounds on the turn in which it charges, and it has pretty much the same stuff as your foot version, so Enfeebling Foe, Melusa Kin, and Bloodwrack Stare are all abilities it has as well. Now lastly, I want to talk about another couple of units to bring into the force, and the Khaine I think really do benefit the force. First of all, Khaine Life Takers, while they definitely are not the most versatile, they are really cheap. 80 points, and their big ability here is to send it into battle where they can start off the table and deploy onto the table. This really means your opponent has to keep control of their objectives and not let you sort of free access, or you can just bring this unit down from off the table to claim your opponent's objectives. You've also got the ability of, after this unit ever fights in a combat on a 4+, it can just simply retreat 6 inch. Now the Life Takers, on the other hand, they do have a nice little profile as well. They are going to have the option here with your Heart Renders of a nice little ranged attack with their Barbed Javelins. 1 attack, 3s and 3s, round 1 damage 1. But they've got Fire and Flight where after they shoot they can make that move of 6 inch instead. And so here we have our sample army list for the Daughters of Khaine in Andor. Now we've gone with the Temple Hagnar. Hagnar, I think, is just the best temple for the Daughters of Khaine, hands down. It means your Blood Rights will always be a turn ahead, giving you +1 to run and charge on the first turn. Now we've gone for the grand strategy, which will be the Baron Icescape one. Now what this grand strategy is going to require us to do is, when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy for all enemy units that have artifacts of power are destroyed, and no enemy units are within 6 inch of the center of the battlefield. Now, we've then got a leader who is going to be our Melusa Ironscale, will be our general. We've gone for the artifact, the Arcane Tome. Now, this doesn't increase any spells, and they still don't get access to any of the Law of Primal Frost spells, but they do become an Andorian Locust, so this gives us a third one out of all the characters. And we've gone for the command trait, which is Eye of the Blizzard. Now what Eye of the Blizzard does is, if our general is on the table during the hero phase and it's not been slain, on a 5+, you can gain 1 primal magic dice, so another way to get some extra primal magic dice. We then have 2 Bloodwrack Medusas. One of them is going to take the Law of Shadow spells Mind Razor, which is a really good Daughters of Khaine spell. Normally quite high to cast on that casting value of 8, but with the primal magic dice you can really get it off a lot more reliably. Law of Primal Frost, we've gone for Merciless Blizzard, which is an insanely powerful mortal wound damage dealing spell. Has a casting value of 12 and a range of 12 inch. If successfully cast, you pick an enemy unit within range and visible to the caster, and that unit suffers 46 mortal wounds, but for each roll of a 1, the caster potentially can suffer D3 mortal wounds that cannot be negated in any way. The range of the spell, though, can't be modified and must be measured from the caster, even if an ability would allow it to otherwise do so. Now, looking into the rest of our units, we have 5 Bloodstalkers, a nice ranged bit of damage, and then 2 units of 10 Witch Elves. We then have our 5 Doomfire Warlocks, who have taken Levitate for some nice maneuverability, and 5 Khaine Life Takers for a nice little utility piece on the table, forcing our opponent to have to defend their objectives. Now we have gone for taking one of the 2 core battalions from Andtor, and this will be the Andtorian Acolytes. Now what this one does is we're allowed to take up to 3, and we must take 2 Andorian Wizards in here. Now, at the start of your hero phase, if there's 2 or more Andorian Locust units in this battalion that are on the battlefield, roll the dice, and on a 3+, you gain another primal magic dice. And I'm waiting to get an extra one onto the table, so we will be rolling at the top of the turn to get a couple of extra, which is pretty cool. With that said though, that is everything for the force. We have 63 wounds on the table and 1,000 points and 8 dropped. If you've got some ideas on how you'd build a Daughters of Khaine force for Andtor, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And so that is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to come chat more with me, we have a Discord server for the channel, and that is linked down in the video's description. Also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel. This is either via Patreon or YouTube members using one of our affiliate links and codes down there, like Baron of Dice, Gap Games or Mithras Games, or by supporting us directly on Patreon or YouTube members. If you'd like to do any of those, we have links for that all in the description, and as a special thank you to our Patrons and YouTube members, we'd like to give them all a shout out. So thank you to our Patreons: Soren, Kenny Lowell, Alder and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Q Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Iron Grinch, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold and Andy C, and our YouTube members: Greenridge Gaming, Ronya, Lock Lorick, The Johnny 84, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, James Tillman, Disco, and John Castle. Lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork you see on the channel. Once again, everyone, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.